got a black marker and you just write right on, the space that it belongs, and in that area where it says RFA, and I'll show you these examples of the tags, it's going to have your city official information. And if you look in your sheets now, these are the tags. And then when you leave there, even though you weren't inspecting 123 Main, when you leave there, look what it says if you put a yellow on. Step number 1, contact your fire official. Step number 2, have fire escape inspected by a structural engineer or others approved to the city. Number 3, service it and load test it. So now you've also, as an inspector, because you put that tag, it obviously gets entered into the computer, that's a line in the sand. How many days you want to give them to comply? 30 days? After 30 days, what's your per diem? Doesn't matter. If it's $5 per diem, it's $1 per diem, it could be, you basically turn the cab meter on that building. So if that guy finally gets back to you 6 months, a year, or 2 or 3 later, because this is you're in an identification mode right now, right? You just want a tag on for who? Who do you want the tags for? For the firefighter. What about the tenants? If I'm paying rent in that building and I look out my window and I got a yellow tag on it, what can I do with my rent and that owner? Say, dude, I can't get out of my building that I pay rent on. So this tag cannot be removed. You got a line in the sand. You can work out your permits and fees and all those things associated with the guys who don't want to comply within 30 days. And all you're doing is just identifying every fire escape. So there's a little income that's going to come in from fines and fees for non-compliance. Okay? And I can show you some cities that have $1,000 fees for non-compliance. This is the second means of egress in a building. Which, if you lose your second means of egress, what can you do to that building? Shut it down. Order fire watches, right? So you can get kind of nasty on a building if the guy wants to play games of any kind. But otherwise, you as inspectors, as you walk along, you inspect any building, or even the building you're on has a fire escape, and you get back there, what do you ask for? Before you even write a violation? Maintenance records and your certification. And they usually say what to you? Huh? So what do you put on there immediately? Go get your yellow tag or red tag. If it has dangling treads, I mean obvious deterioration. Truck smashes, dropping treads. That's a life safety issue. Life safety issues require fire watches and what? Possibly vacating the building? So you're going to write a few reds, but a lot of them are yellows. You're going to tag it yellow, and you got to basically say you need to have it inspected. You got 30 days. Or less, depending on the severity of the situation. Okay? So now let's continue. Now these, in Portland, are 11 by 19 inches. It's a knot size. The ones we made is 8.5 by 11. When I get there, and I got one of your yellow tags there, I keep your tag there, I put my tag next to it. Your tag is a line in the sand that says they got some fines and fees and things to pay. My tag is when did it end? Because now they do have some oversight going on. They have started to comply. Okay? So the line in the sand is going to be important, but this is a city already doing. Tacoma and Seattle already mandate that every fire escape must be tagged. Let's take a look at where rust comes from. And we're going to prove to you whether rust comes from the outside in or from the inside out. Okay? By the way, this is a youth detention center for kids up to 17 years old. Yes, questions?
Like that, when you go on the left there, where do you draw the line of this is a fire escape or this is just an outside stairwell?
Most codes state the building code, fire code, housing codes. All exterior steel or wooden stairs must be maintained. Now, you guys got all these crazy laws that keep you away from the residential people and all these things. I'm not here to answer that question. Because every now and then you have to liaison with a code official to help you write a violation so you can get in. But can you get killed on a residential as well as get killed on a commercial? So it's basically, the fire code says that if it's, I think, imminent hazard, or there's something you can say that allows you to write, but the code is all exterior steel or wooden stairs must be maintained, structurally sound. Where is that in every code? I don't have time to read every code, in every 50 states, but I can tell you that is the general code. It's either in your state code, your building code, in your housing code. So somewhere, there's a code that says there's a requirement that everything outside your building, you must maintain it structurally sound, so that the firemen can use it to get in, the people can use it to get out. So you are correct. A lot of times people say our fire escape is 8-inch treads, rise and run 8 and 8, hanging on a building, you can barely squeeze through it. And then you get this building that has a steel fire escape, steel egress stair, 7-Eleven, with a kick plate, all diamond plate. They say that's not a fire escape, that's an egress. You just have to say, anything exterior must be maintained. All exterior egresses must be maintained if they're subject to weather. And if you have to go find where in your code that lies, then please let us know. We have a great website that I'll share with you at the end, that any and all information you have specific to your city, we'll put it on our website. So that every time somebody has a lot of questions, the standard answer is always going to be in our website under violations and codes and stuff. We'll have something specific to your city. I'll show you that at the end. So this youth detention center not only holds the youths in detention, but in case there's a fire, it'll also maim or kill them on the way out. These are the treads that are holding them up. This is a school in New Jersey. Those are the treads that hold the kids, elementary school. We'll prove to you that on average it takes 25 years of neglect to grow a 1/4 inch. It takes 50 years of neglect to grow a 1/2 inch. How many inches are you seeing on these pictures? Now, I told you guys, I said, listen, when you're going up the stairs, the best way to ever inspect a fire escape, if you have to go up, and you're not supposed to inspect a fire escape, because you render an opinion on a fire escape, guess who owns it? You walk it up and say, this looks okay. And then you walk away, guess what they said? You own it. The city owns it now because the inspectors just walked in. You say, do you have any maintenance records, and when's the last time you got it certified? Do you have any certification records? As soon as you ask for that, you put the responsibility on the owner to have that thing maintained and inspected by a professional. Do you have a copy of your maintenance records, or do you have a copy of the last load test or certification? So if you want to write that down, maintenance records or a copy of your last load test and or certification. That'll catch you. They go, huh? Then you say, that's a violation. I need this thing inspected. Now, we hammer test, not for the fire escape as a test, because we do a visual inspection and we can see whatever we need to see. But we do a hammer test to see if it's safe for us to walk out. Do you guys ever hammer test as you walk fire escapes, either up or down? No? This is what happens. This is what's waiting out there for you. 3-pound hammer. Good test? Oh.
I think that's it. Want to stay down here so I don't get hurt?
Stay down here so I don't get hurt. Do you guys see how quickly that fell? Now that's in the middle of the night. 300-pound guy either climbing up or climbing down. That tread gives way, your foot goes through, you snap your knee forward, you've got another problem. You got a fire, a trapped fireman that can't move anymore, and you need 2 or 3 firemen to get a 300-pound guy off that fire escape. Now you're not fighting the fire anymore, you're trying to get the guy off the fire escape so you can save his life. Cantilevers. You guys got a lot of cantilevers. Let me tell you the life of a cantilever, and I'll tell you how it works. I'll give you a little story so you can understand how cantilevers are supposed to work. But what you're looking at right now is what happens. Cantilevers are supposed to be activated, drop 2 to 3 feet per second, hit the ground and stay down. They're not supposed to go up by themselves. And I'll explain why. Because what I'm about to explain, if it doesn't make sense, you'll understand why. But they're supposed to be so perfectly balanced that if I put my foot on the first step, I activate it, it activates, it starts the process of coming down, hits the ground and stays down. But I got a box in the back that the guy who built this 50 to 75 years ago put what kind of steel in there? Some nice steel bars or some nice cast iron? Or did he clean up the shop floor of any and all debris and missing pieces, broken pieces of steel? What do you fill these boxes with? Junk. Now when you fill it with junk, and I make a box for it, do I seal that box with 50-year silicone that I had 75 years ago? So water and air gets in there, and what happens to a piece of steel that's 1/4 inch thick? It'll grow to 1 inch of rust and accumulate weight at the same time. So whenever you got this rusted box that sits there for 50 to 75 years, accumulating some of your rain, gets in that box, makes rust grow, you need water and air. You guys got plenty of water and air on here? How about humidity all day long? Right? So all of a sudden, that fire escape starts dangling a little bit because it gets out of balance. And then when it dangles a little bit down, guess what happens when the trash trucks stop backing up into these alleyways? They just rip these things down. Number two is that when these things get heavy, it starts pointing to the sky. Or it does one of these. Because the weight box in the back is heavy. So what happens with you guys, if you're walking on you're looking at this building and behind you, you see one of these things pointing to heaven. What are you going to write? Does it look right? Does it seem right that a fire escape cantilever should be pointing to the sky? So just because you have a concern, you think you're going to write a violation on that guy? Right? Like, hey, this doesn't look right. What's wrong with it? So to avoid getting a violation from you guys, guess what the owners do when they go to Home Depot? They buy a chain. When they buy that chain, they put a chain over here and they tie it where? To a strategic location or to anywhere that they think it'll hold? So they usually tie a chain from here and tie it over there and do what? Put that thing horizontal. So when you see chains on fire escapes, they're usually a Band-Aid to stop it from looking like this so that you won't write violations on them. So put on and make a note. Fire escapes with chains on the tail are a violation because it's out of balance. Let me give you a what if. A woman coming down, 150 pounds. A child, 50 pounds. You put the child in front of you or you put the child behind you when you're getting away from a fire, going down a fire escape, as a mother? Put the child in front. Drag the child behind, right? And you're sort of going along figuring out what you're doing. You're going down and you're dragging this child. But now somebody has put all kinds of weights on this thing and this thing is weighted backwards. So I'm supposed to step as a mother on the first step and this thing's supposed to go down. But now it's out of balance. It's got this fake chain that the guy put on there. So I go out 3 steps, what happens? Nothing. I go out 5 steps, what happens? Might move a little bit. I go out 5 to 8 steps. What happens to that cantilever? She starts dropping. 2 to 3 feet per second or 5 to 10 feet per second? 5 to 10 feet per second, does it hit the ground softly or does it smash the ground and smashes the ground? What does it do to this woman? Throws her off. She didn't bounce off this time. She held on. Is she screaming and crying? The woman? Is the little kid screaming and crying? Okay. So now, this 150-pound woman dragging a 50-pound child, there's 200 pounds on this cantilever, now it hits the ground, stays down, because they got what on it now? They got weight. So she goes down, she gets to the last step, she steps off the fire escape completely. What happens to the 50-pound child? How many feet? 12 to 14 feet up in the air. Now this child gets either catapulted, but this child held on. This is the Velcro family. They held on. Now that child is up 12 feet in the air. You guys haven't arrived yet. The mother's on the ground. Kid's crying. Mother's crying. Mother tells the kid to do what? Jump. She goes, jump. How many kids jump 12 feet? The mother's frantic. You guys haven't showed up yet. Kid's up 12 feet. The house is on fire. What would a mother do? You don't think a mother would run back into a burning building just to repeat the process, would you? So now you got a firefighter that just got deputized and she's running back into the smoke-filled building. What kills people? Smoke or fire. So now we got this child. But all of a sudden, before she even gets that as a thought in her head to go back in the building, you guys show up. And you come running down that alleyway because the truck is still in the corner tying up to a hose. And you go down there, you're like, hey, kid, jump. The mother's trying to entice the kid to jump. You're trying to entice the kid to jump. Nobody's jumping. So you run back down the alleyway to get what? A ladder. Or even better, the pole, right? The pipe. And you go up there. Oh my God, you can reach 12 feet with those, can't you? You go up and you grab it and you bring it down, and the child is reunited with the mother runs, because you're supposed, that's what fire escapes are for, self-evacuation. Did she self-evacuate? No, she needed help, so she had to wait until you guys show up. Puts the fire escape down, puts his foot on it, all the firemen are starting to arrive, they all start running up the fire escape to help, and what can't this guy do now that brought it down? He can't leave. He can't fight the fire, he can't man whoever this guy is, he's stuck there. He's got to put his foot on this fire escape and hold it there while everybody else fights the fire. You just lost one man on the fire because this fire escape is not doing what it's supposed to do. So does it make sense that cantilevers must drop by themselves when activated? And if you put a release arm on them, the release arm does this, and I'll show you what a release arm looks like. It stops people from pulling it down because it's an anti-theft device. A release arm is something that actually blocks you. It's single action, requiring no special knowledge. And when you push it away, the release arm, which is usually right here at the beginning of the stair, right here at the beginning of the stair, right up here at the beginning of the stair, right up here at the beginning of the stair. As soon as you release it, it lets the thing activate itself, and it drops 2 to 3 feet per second, so that by the time you come down these 3 or 4 stairs, it's already hit the ground and stays down. That's a properly balanced fire escape. But if it's got a release arm on it, people can't break into the building and pull it down because it's got a release arm. Otherwise, you have to perfectly balance it so that as soon as you step on it, it starts dropping. What happens when 8 pigeons land on the outside step of this fire escape? If it's perfectly balanced and doesn't have a release arm? Right? Strong winds. So what happens with these fire escapes is a lot of these, because they kept coming down by themselves, who gets called in the middle of the night to put them back up? Right? So what did landlords do to stop coming down in the middle of the night? They bought chains, they put more weights in the box, and then they put chains in the box, tied it back up, so that these things, even if they came down because somebody went out a window, somebody pulled it down, what did it do by itself? Went back up. So if you see a chain on a fire escape and no release arm, what's it doing? It's stopping it from growing and doing this. So all chains on a fire escape are illegal. This is the cantilever that's going to come down. This is in Chicago. Must be single action, requiring no special knowledge. Now notice there's a masonry company working on this building, and they've got this here. Do you think they're using the fire escape as a working platform also? Now see how violent cantilevers are and why they're not supposed to be used every day. There's the release. Drops by itself 2 to 3 feet per second, hits the ground and stays down. How violent is that? You think you can do that 10 to 15 times a day for a couple of months to a fire escape? Now, this is why cantilevers are up in the air 12 to 14 feet.
You can see cement trucks, high-end trucks, notorious for knocking these fire escapes down.
Watch how close he gets. And this is a perfectly balanced fire escape. If it wasn't perfectly balanced, it was hanging down ever so slightly.
Fire escapes are 14 feet off the ground. Very easy. Now let's see how close.
You think the driver can see anything above his head? Moving trucks, trash trucks, and cement trucks take down fire escapes all the time. Now, the reason I brought that up is that particular fire escape right now is one of the changes that happened this past couple of years, because we refurbished that fire escape. And when we refurbished that fire escape, the one piece we didn't refurbish, because it didn't need it, was a piece of steel that was tied onto the sides. That piece of steel that was tied onto the side, welded, not bolted, 50 to 75 years ago, as a stiffener to get the weight that was starting to bow out due to fatigue. To bring it back in alignment, they put this piece of steel. 3 inches by 5 inches by 3/8. Pretty heavy? Well, and as they were using this fire escape, after we refurbished it about a month later, the masonry company was doing refurbishment on the back. Guess what they were using as a means of getting on and off the building? The ladder system or the cantilever? Did the cantilever piece fall the first day or 1 to 2 months later? 1 to 2 months later. So did it fall off or was it broken off? Now in our investigation, we never saw any rust in the connections. We never saw any bulging of any kind, which is what we look for. We look for a bulge that says, oh my God, this well is about to pop because it's got growth in it, it's a bulge. We didn't see it, the vendors didn't see it, the architect that inspected didn't see it, the fire officials, anybody, the building owner, nobody saw it because the only way you could see that is with an x-ray. Does the city require x-rays of all wells? No. So it's a visual opinion test. And if it ain't broke, do we fix it anyway? So wells now become one of the unknowns that we don't deal with anymore. We don't care if it's good or bad. We pop a bolt in it. As soon as we pop a bolt in it, keep the weld, we pop a bolt. Have I verified that weld? Have I nullified that weld? So there's a way, because I can guarantee that weld if I load test it for thousands of dollars. But as soon as I drill a hole through that weld and I pop a bolt in it, do I still need thousands of dollars to test it? Or now the bolt is my guarantee? Because in case that weld gives out and the bolt shears, who do you sue? The bolt company. It was a bad bolt. So we're starting to get into what is a certification. We're dealing right now with just weld. Any tread that has rust in it and I clean it out and I put 4 brand new bolts in that tread, do I now need to load test it since I put 4 new bolts in that tread? That's a guarantee, right? That's one test, like, oh yeah, good. But if I change the bolts out, there's 4 new bolts, is there anything more I can do to it? Or is that a certified repair? So there you go, you have, in lieu of a load test, which is very costly, change the bolts. But what happens when I have 50 to 75-year-old bolts that are good to excellent, no rust in the connection? What's the only true test for that? A load test, right? So I take these, so I only am load testing this fire escape, which the owner maintained very well, painted it religiously. But I got a 50 to 75-year-old bolt that the guy wants me to guarantee I can only guarantee it with a load test, or can I drill a bolt hole between the 2 bolts that are there on the tread and put a brand new bolt between those 2 existing bolts, which I keep, which are either rivets or square heads, and when I put the new bolt in there, is it good now? Can I certify that repair? Because my new bolt is the primary, what's the secondaries? The original bolts. So in lieu of a load test, can I reinforce the connection? Now sometimes when I'm drilling a hole in a tread, and this represents treads, railings, supports, so this is just an example of a connection. It takes me 7 minutes to drill this hole, this half-inch hole. I gotta do a pilot, then I gotta do a half-inch, then I put a bolt. You know how long it takes me to put an impact gun on some square head bolts? Or take a grinding disc and cut the rivet head off and just pop it through and then put new bolts in there anyway? So whatever's faster and cheaper to the client, I will either reinforce the existing tread or connection. I will change the bolt out completely because I have an impact gun that can snap the bolt out of there, or I have a cutting disc that just cut the head, smash the thing, put in a bolt. Now do I need to load test that if I've reinforced, replaced the bolt? Reinforced or replaced the bolt? Do I need a load test? Will you accept a certified refurbishment of that very same connection? That's what we're going to keep talking about today, is that in lieu of a load test, reinforcement or replacement of these bolts on 50 to 75-year-old fire escape is the guarantee. Because I can't have disclaimers if I reinforce or refurbish a fire escape. And I don't need disclaimers if I load test it, because once I load tested it, we're done. There's the guarantee. How about these? You guys got fire towers? This is one in Waltham, Massachusetts. They were using this to the day when I got there and I started doing this. I started testing their treads. That's the outside treads. These are the inside treads, because on the inside you guys pour water over these things. Firemen were using this tower every day till the day I did this, and it took it out of commission. So sometimes you guys are writing violations to others when you should be writing it to yourself. So you get all these rookies that have taken their lives, this is live load testing again. It takes 25 to 50 years to grow a 1/4 inch of rust to 1/2 inch. So how long do these firemen continuously pour water over their own their own training tower. How many years of growth here? This is a veterans home. So if the war didn't kill you, guess what's gonna get you? Missing clips. Truck damage. Housing. Housing doesn't get any attention. So housing programs that have fire escapes as their only means of egress out, some of them look like this. City halls, see the missing treads there? This is actually a city hall. And it ain't going to the mayor's office. Here's the next one, the unknown. We can see 97 or 98% of a fire escape with our visual inspection. And we can guarantee you through refurbishment or reinforcement of welds, 98% of the fire escape. You know what we can't see? What sticks in the wall. Do you know that a lot of people don't realize there's an outside veneer. This is the pretty version of the brick. But what the fire escape really ties into is 8 to 12 inches of masonry behind the brick. We don't tie into the veneer, we tie into the masonry behind there. You know what happens when you got like a, see that that half inch or 3/4 spacing between the veneer and the actual block wall? They got these little clips that hold the veneers in the way. So veneers don't hold the building up. They're nothing but a skin. It could be wood skin. You have some wood buildings that have a brick veneer. But what this means is that as water in the parapet wall upstairs leaked 50, 75 years ago and it came down that little half-inch space, where did it affect it? It affected it back here and it ate all the steel back here. You know what I couldn't see, and I'm lucky every now and then I get these rusty tears. These rusty tears are when the veneer and the brick wall are so tight together that any water that accumulates here works its way back out and gives me a signal, gives me a big flag. It says, hey, it's bad behind here. But every now and then I got some walls that I have no, there's a little gap. So any water that's trying to bridge itself out and give me a clear indication that it's working, that it's rusting, it doesn't have it, so the water keeps falling all the way down to your basement. For 50 to 75 years, there's a leak in the roof that nobody saw except the fire escape. So what happens is, can we load test a fire escape like this, with this unknown? So what we have to do is we have to go there and drill holes and verify these connections prior to a load test. Very expensive. $250 per area to a mason to go and open up all these areas and put all that stuff back. Yet for $25, $50 per connection. Anybody know what Hilti is? The Hilti expansion bolts? So I can drill a hole about 5 inches away here, and I drill the hole and I bury a new epoxy bolt 8 to 12 inches deep. I mechanically fasten it back to this old connection. I let sleeping dogs lie. I don't care about the old connection because I just gave it a brand new one. So I keep the original, give it a new one. Have I nullified the unknown in the wall? Another way, instead of doing single connections, with Hiltis, I take a piece of angle, a 4-inch piece of angle, and the balcony is 12 feet long. I just take a 12-foot long piece of 4x4, stick it underneath. My epoxies are every 3 feet or 2 feet, whatever the engineer says. So I got like 8 epoxies. And then wherever the angle meets any of these, because it's going to be underneath, I just do a mechanical fastener clip, whatever. So now in order for that balcony to fall, what does it got to rip out? The whole wall's got to come. So that's unification of a platform. Otherwise I can do single, epoxies to every single one, or just do a unification. Now, have I satisfied you? If you're the inspector, and that's who I have to satisfy. I don't satisfy the owner because the owner's all about economy. And what does he want? Band-Aid or surgery? So I don't care about the guy because he needs to know that the one I have to satisfy, because you're going to make me do 2 things on this building. Load test it to make you happy so you can sleep at night, or give it a certified repair. So I need to satisfy you that we've done everything on the fire escape. So I've just eliminated 2 to 3% of the fire escape, which is an unknown. In some cases, when I try to put epoxies in this wall, the wall is porous, that's garbage. What's the only other answer? A plate on the inside. It's the same hole, but now I drilled it all the way through, put a plate on the inside, and I basically create a sandwich. Okay? Well, we're in that 5-minute mode. So if anybody has any questions as we speak, let's take 5, and I can answer any and all questions as you guys have. But if you can come back in 5, we'll continue with the class. Any questions? They're all holding their questions.
What's the word?